Home weather by Michael COUSINEAUnew, New Hampshire Union Leader, November 4, 2017, 9:20 p.m. High winds brought down a tree onto a house on Maple Street in Manchester during last week's windstorm. David COUSINEAUnew, leader. Last week's fierce windstorm ranks as the fourth largest peak outage at 270,000 customers. Here are the costs to restore power collectively from Eversource, New Hampshire Electric, COUP, Unitil and Liberty Utilities. December 2008 ice storm, $79 million to restore power to 432,632. Feb. 2010 windstorm, $34.3 million to restore power to 337,542. October. 2011 nor'easter, $20.7 million to restore power to 299,235. November. 2014 snowstorm, $36.2 million to restore power to 238,865. October. 2017 windstorm, undetermined amount to restore power to 270,000. Source: New Hampshire Public Utilities Commission. Eversource expects to spend more money to restore power from last week's ferocious windstorm than the $30 million to $35 million it took to bring the lights back on after a 2014 Thanksgiving Day snowstorm, a spokesman said. "I would expect the cost will exceed the Thanksgiving storm, but that still is to be determined," Martin Murray said, based on preliminary information. The windstorm, which left 195,000 Eversource customers without power at its peak, damaged more than 389 utility poles compared to 59 in the 2014 storm. Poles are costly and time-consuming to replace. The 2014 storm had 12,000 more customers affected at its peak than last week's storm. Eversource collects $12 million from ratepayers every year that is placed in a storm fund to be used to help pay for extraordinary events, Murray said. That works out to 90 cents a month for someone using 600 kilowatt-hours of energy a month. Meanwhile, state officials said the storm caused more than $8 million in damage, excluding power restoration costs, enough for the state to seek a third federal disaster declaration this year. Perry Plummer, State Homeland Security and Emergency Management Director, said the state calculated in excess of $8 million in estimated damages and fully expect to meet the disaster thresholds necessary for the governor to seek a federal disaster declaration. The threshold was $1.92 million. That estimate can include costs for debris removal, emergency services, and repair work to roads, bridges and infrastructure, according to Michael Todd, Department of Safety spokesman. For example, crews on Friday reopened Route 302 after they repaired a box culvert in Crawford Notch that had been damaged by the rain-swollen Dry River. Only the New Hampshire Electric COUP among the major power companies can qualify for disaster funds because it has nonprofit status and provides a critical service, he said. If the state's request for federal funds is granted, government organizations and certain private nonprofits that provide a critical service could be eligible for 75% reimbursement. Parts of the state received presidential declarations for a March blizzard and July floods. The total verified damage for July was $6 million, but is still being processed with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, so could still increase, Todd said. The total verified damage for March is $2 million. COUP spokesman Seth Wheeler said it was way too early to guess at a cost, but he hoped the feds would reimburse 75%, with ratepayers picking up the rest. Consumer advocate Donald Kreese, whose office works on behalf of New Hampshire utility ratepayers, said he expects the Public Utilities Commission to conduct a storm post-mortem investigation as it had with other big power outages. Meanwhile, he asked, "Do we have to change the way we plan for bad weather? We could completely eliminate storm-related outages if we just buried everything to protect it from wild weather. That would be hugely expensive," Kreese said. McCousinough at UnionLeader.com. Business General News. Public Safety, Weather, Economy, Energy, State Government.